Hi, I'm sorry to not be making an announcement about a winning team or something, although I'm really impressed by the girls wrestling. I think that's fantastic, and I think that a good point was made about how it used to be there weren't girls' teams like that. So we've definitely made progress, but that's not my topic. I was recently in San Diego for a 2-day library training this last week, and after the first morning, I had lunch with some of the library staff. The topic of homelessness came up because it always comes up when I'm in a conversation. And I mentioned that Albany had actually found a solution to homelessness: offer a nominal amount of money to people experiencing homelessness so they'll leave town, and then make sure they won't cause any more trouble by also restricting their access to specific areas of the city for 12 months. So exclude them and criminalize their future behavior. My lunch companions were, I would say needless to say here, but I think in Albany I do need to say it, they were horrified and actually didn't believe me at first. But I assured them that yes, that's how we do it around here. I know you're ready to be finished with this subject. You're almost to your park, and the fallout from your inexorable march toward that park, destroyed homes, uprooted lives, negligence of your moral and human duties, is something you probably don't give much thought to anymore, but I like to think that you do. I like to think that when you drive by the freeway overpass at Gilman Street, you wonder what you could have done differently. I like to think that when you look back at all the opportunities you had to show the world that you care, and all the opportunities that you let go, that you pause for a minute or two. But I think that's the optimistic and probably naive part of me. My experience with homelessness in Albany has been painful and sad. It hurts me to live in a city where we place a higher value on having a park than we do on caring for all our community members. It hurts me to know that a group of people who were making it by living on the land and by creating a community are now truly homeless. It hurts me to know that some of my fellow community members are gone and that you are actively working toward pushing out 2 more Albany residents, one of whom has contributed more to the city than most people, that is Amber Whitson. Amber is someone I'm proud to know. Her words and her insights have helped raise our conversation to a level that we never would have achieved, and I'm heartbroken that the city of Albany is so determined to expel her, taking away her home. There are always ways to make things work, but they require good intentions on both sides. Your intentions don't appear to be so good. They seem to be based on expediency, fear, and what I can only call classism. You are getting your way, and yours is not a legacy to be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Signe Matson, Albany resident. I wanted to just speak for a second about sowing and reaping. I don't know that anyone in this town reads the Bible anymore, let alone practices the foundational beliefs, but as you sow, so shall you reap. And I just wonder where the consciousness and the conscience, not only of my city council, but my fellow residents, where it lies, what's happened to it, and even what's happened to the intellect. Where supposedly so many people in this town are so proud of this big university, but truly the intellect has disappeared, not only at the university, but in the town, apparently. I've spent a good bit of time recently at the Bulb, and it's quite a marvelous place. And Amber Woodson is a treasure, and I do believe that if you chose to do so, you could do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Genevieve Wilson. I'm the chair of the subcommittee for Housing and Emergency Shelter for Berkeley's Homelessness Task Force. I'm also a friend of Amber Whitson, and I want to preface my comments by saying it's not the creation of a state park that I object to, or I'm also not somebody who objects to drawing boundaries where drug addiction is concerned, but I do have grave concerns about the way this process with the Bulb has progressed, and I want to voice those because I care about my friends a great deal, and I care about the city and the part that it has in the East Bay. I'm confused and I'm disappointed in this process overall. I don't understand why a city-appointed task force wasn't allowed the full 18-month process that they were originally promised, and I wonder where we might be if they had had that entire process. I don't understand how a housing element lapsed in the first place, ever, in the city. I don't understand that. It's very confusing to me. I don't understand why people who are demonstrably disabled were forced into a position, no matter what their past or personal habits may have been, to move to a place like the Gilman Overpass or behind a 7-Eleven to wait for housing that they were already actively looking for, and then have those health concerns exacerbated by moving to a place like that in their pursuit of something more. And I'd share Julie's concerns. I don't understand why someone like Amber Whitson, I've gotten to know her through this process. She's growing, she's changing, she's engaging, she's looking for something real. She likes being a part of public process. She shows up to meetings. This is a juice and milk drinking, Rice Krispie eating, Cocoa Krispie munching, what else? You know, council meetings, showing up to kind of a person, you know, she's normal. Amber Whitson is normal, and she's hysterically funny. She's very articulate. She's been a burr in your saddle. I think you haven't liked some things she's said and done, but that kind of goes for a lot of us, doesn't it? Isn't that school? You know, gosh, I didn't get along with that kid very well for a while, and then we came to some understanding. So I guess I find myself yearning for some collaborative solution, hoping that the good faith that was originally intended and hoped for by the task force that was originally convened by this group of people in this room, that something that could have or should have happened through that process might still be preserved. And that we might come out of this going, you know, we got through it together. That's what I'm hoping. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Eric Husted. I'm a resident of Berkeley. I'm a member of Share the Bulb, but I'm not speaking on behalf of that group. But I think because of my involvement in that process, I'm also able to let y'all know some of the things that have happened during this process. But I do want to lead with a question for each and every one of you, which some people in this city have had to face, which is, how much would you have to be paid to leave and not come back? How much? Have you thought about it? You probably haven't had to face that question. Because instead of addressing the problem, I've seen a lot of money being thrown at it. For example, the shelter that wasn't effective, that a lot of advocates for people living on the bulb and people living on the bulb came here and said, that's not going to work for these reasons, and here's a different idea. And that idea that came from a community process that actually involved those people didn't get any support from anybody sitting up there, any one of you. For me, the most significant thing that's happened is a community of people has been destroyed, and every one of them, for not having the ability to control their own life in the way that they did on the bulb, for not having the dignity of being able to build something with their own hands and keep it and call it their own. Everybody that's moved away from there, whether they took the settlement or whether they were forced out, has become more vulnerable. I really hope each and every one of you takes a visit to the Gilman Underpass to see what the conditions are like there, because then it really becomes kind of absurd to talk about health and sanitation issues on the bulb and that being a problem. The cycle of criminalization of homeless people is only being continued, and that's a problem that we have to solve as a whole nation, I believe, and I don't believe local governments are capable of solving that issue. But still, there were a lot of opportunities to do better when advocates came here and presented ideas and they weren't listened to. I know that your police department is collaborating with the Berkeley Police Department in enforcing those people from under the Gilman overpass and telling them to move along again. But right now, that's a place where service providers are able to go a centralized location to do outreach. And I just want to say that every home that's been destroyed there has not had due process followed. And I believe you're in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act and maybe the Fair Housing Act.
Thank you.
Hi, Amber Whitson, Albany resident. Tonight I bring you more sad news. Yesterday I found out that Patricia Mama Bear Moore, a woman who has serious mobility difficulties, is disabled, just got released from the hospital after her leg was nearly amputated as a result of a car accident, and has been working with Charles Joseph for months on end, is living behind some bushes next to the 7-Eleven on Telegraph Avenue and Parker in Berkeley. Joe Rose, a man who uses a walker and who is no longer able to use his bike to get around since moving under the Gilman overpass, has also been working with Charles Joseph for months on end as well. In fact, both Patty and Joe have long expressed a desire to move in together. They're both recipients of SSDI, and in fact, Charles has taken them both to many viewings of places together. They are both single, disabled, homeless individuals. Therefore, they both fit the federal definition of chronically homeless. In fact, if they had been given a chance to participate in the Home Stretch program, they would have undoubtedly been shot to the top of the list, but they weren't. Instead, they are scraping survival off of the sidewalks of Berkeley. When Francesco Papalia had a volunteer day to start the Cove Enhancement Project, 4 people showed up to help him. 1 woman who appeared to live in contiguous Albany, and 3 women who lived at the Bulb. That's it. Patty and I, the woman who's living behind some bushes next to 7-Eleven on Telegraph in Berkeley, we were 2 of those 3 women from the Bulb. We contribute to this community. I'm not going to stop. My partner has cognitive disabilities and emotional disabilities. I left him at the house to come here, curled up in a ball in a seriously deep funk, because I just found out today that we don't have beyond 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Obviously, you don't understand what disabled means, otherwise you would have granted some of our requests for reasonable accommodations. But I'm telling you now, you're not getting rid of me. So you can either make this easy or you can make this hard. You're going to get rid of me, maybe from the Bulb, yes, but you're not going to get rid of me out of Albany. So you can either have me sleeping on Solano Avenue at night and going to the Bulb every day, all day, and telling everybody who comes through there about the plans for that place, because I do know the East Shore State Park General Plan remarkably well, and the whole thing about unauthorized artistic expression is Third Reich style. So I'm going to make sure I let everybody who uses the Bulb know what you guys are fixing to do there, whether I'm living there or not. So you can either give us enough time to get our stuff out and be polite about something for once, or you can force us out sooner than that, and I'll be sleeping on Solano Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak under good of the city?